Hello again. Had it, had made a video earlier. I guess it was like a testing part where your computer fade out. But I just wanted to say good day wherever you at, or to video land, USA and elsewhere. Um, I want to address a topic that most people don't get a chance to really be forthcoming with why, for example, black people want to have their own output, and some of the things that you come to a person's channel who's African American and really coming to know and knowledge and learn more what's going on among the people, because like when you, like any people, when you go among your own people, it's like you're going around your own family, and it's not to take away the things that other people do, whether it's political or whether it's controversial, whether it's we're dealing with justice, um, social issues, and everything. And you have a segment of people, because it seemed like some people, when they ally with African Americans, they can improvise, but it seemed like from whatever sectors, like I want to be your friend, but I don't want you to say too much. And it seemed like you're not, like some people are not allowing realistically like that to come through. And so when it comes to the politics that I mentioned in the video, and address this to the African American community, it's just because, as far as a certain class, and it's something that I know and it's something I can relate to, and it's something that you see a pattern over a period of time. And it doesn't mean I'm against other people. It doesn't mean I'm pro. It's just that that's you just naturally who you are, and whatever people you come from, you're gonna think about. It's like your own people in your own family, people in your own household. So before you hear about your neighbor's household, you want to know what's going on in your household, and that's just basically common sense. And so I hope, I know sometimes, the truth just have to be spoken. Deep things from from personal experiences and journeys. And I made videos in the past about, why do black people want to separate? Is because there's been a mistrust, and there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of trauma among African Americans, that it should be solved only with African Americans that can understand and know what the trauma and the PSD going on, and can help their children cope with things, if they're in school, and whether it's from a student or from a teacher or for someone in authority figure. Because, and they may not understand why, and they may not understand people who have something against them, and it can traumatize them like it traumatized us at one time we were young. So this is particular why some African Americans, blacks, whatever they choose to call, wants to separate, because it feel like it's like you're using them as a shield, but it's not. No one respects the shield, and not too many people respect the effort. And even though that there's some problems in this particular community, it comes back the same way. So that's why I dressed the way I dressed it before. So, and I have sense enough to know that not everybody's like that. I have sense enough to know that every person in the human race is like that. But as an like an American person, black person in this country, you see racism coming, deflection, and everything coming in its true form. And before you do, you go to a period where maybe it's something, maybe it might be just this person. But some things is so flat out, it's straight in your face. And you just made the subject, some of us are just made to just take it on the chin and go. And just don't say nothing, don't confront it. And some of us just over the board and don't care. We gonna say whatever and confront it. And so that's the reason why. And it's not that you're gonna have some of the same issues and the same problem among people that look like you, but it seemed to be more people seem more understanding. It's like someone who who come to this country from any part of the world, and anybody can probably relate to this. If you speak a secondary language, you know how, you can speak English, but when you're among your own family and you're among your own friends, you're able to flow in your own natural tongue. You can flow in whatever nationality or ethnic group can flow in their own language before they speak to the rest of the population in America in English, because they speak their original language, so they feel comfortable around their people. And there's a segment of black people that feel the same way, and even with the issues. And even though that there is some stigma, is that there's some African Americans are in politics. Sometimes some don't have the best interests that include their own, and so it seems like it's a sense of betrayal. The reason why they're being used as a puppet. Meanwhile, the majority of people that look like them, regardless of their education, regardless of their background, get judged. And they don't have the luxuries of like some people do because of their class. And no matter if they're a hard-working person, making a good, honest living. So that's the reason why. So it's particularly, and it's kind of disappointing to see some people get to that position who is African American, and they don't want to throw the rope back, so to speak, because that can be with anybody. I'm just using this as an example. Is because you get to a certain level, whether it's in your education, whether it's in your workplace, or where you live, or where you normally, you're going to see some form or experience some form of discrimination. And it seems like some people kind of ignore that, and it's until it happens to them, until they find out this person wasn't the lower class or based on economics, because they don't realize that some people really do come against you because of your skin color, and they do it in subtly ways. So this is the reason why, and majority of African Americans know how the way is coming, because when you live in this country, it don't just come directly, sometimes come indirectly, and you don't find it out until you get on the job. You don't find out until your kid go to school. You find out different phases of the justice system, the medical system, and every other system, because like, wow. And that's why I call it the ancient hatred. I mean, that's something that automatically you can look at somebody, and not like them because the color of their skin. That's bothered me. And not like them for something that God put on their skin. And this frustrates most people, because some people don't, in an ideal world, don't want to be judged like that. They don't want to be judged because of color of their skin. But unfortunately, even though we live in one of the most integrated countries on the planet, it seems like there is a sort of like a totem pole level, and there's a sense of disdain and dislike, even though that our circumstances bring us across all conglomerates of working class. But with a certain percentage of people from each ethnic group, it seemed like there is some kind of a problem. And not and it goes with the stereotype. So the reason why, and it really bothers some people, black people, when it's happened, because like even you get it on your job, or you get it in your education. And just recently I heard something about a young this teacher, and she's teaching her kids online, and this is someone made this up, that she used her past experience, because she said she has the right not to like black people. It's like, okay, but why are you going into a setting if you don't, and you knowing that your students, 9 chances out of 10 in that district is going to be black? Why are you teaching in a public setting? And it goes back to saying, if you feel that way, why you live in an area where it's integrated? And some of these people who are prejudiced live in integrated areas, who don't like people of color. I hate to use that terminology, but I mean of all different races. And so this is something that we addressed this is on the black side. And a lot of people don't want to be forthcoming. Some people, they don't believe it. There's some people who want to be in denial of it. There people wish it to go away. There's some people that just wish you stop talking about it. But how can you stop talking about it, but in some degree or form or fashion, you're going to come across it? And then you telling that person, don't talk about it, just shut down your feelings. Just taking your shut up and going about your business. And that's what I think that's how some people feel. So when it's like, okay, maybe the solution is just, let's have our own. And so having our own means that we have to learn to deal among each other's personality. As far as African Americans or blacks or whatever, tell you choose. You have to learn to love yourself. And that's basically what it is. Because that trauma from the past has jumped in segment of a generation that we live to this day. And it's not taken away from other people and saying that you hate these other nationalities or you hate these other groups of people or you can't stand them, but it's time to understand what your nationality, who your people are, because through TV, such as news and programming, what you learn in school, and what you've been around, and what you've been exposed, change the whole dynamic of the way you think, the way you look at yourself. Right now, there's a certain segment in the black community, black men and black women don't see eye to eye, and they go along with the mainstream feminist movement when it comes to the women. But some black women don't understand, when you go along with that, you really, and you come against your own man, and you really ride against your own man, then you turn up your own nation of your future if you decide to have children. And a man in every sector of every ethnic, every religion, ethnic persuasion, there's a nucleus setting of husband and wife and child. And there's a certain degree that the woman has to kind of respect, gotta give to the man. Not dominate him, not control him, and know when to say when. And this is not, and the man has to do the same in loving and supporting his woman, understand why God gave him that woman. And a woman can understand why God gave her that man. Because if you don't respect the man, and your children are seeing this, the dominating, the manipulating, the controlling, how are they going to be happy in their relationship? And then you put down each other because you calling your man out his name, or he calling you out your name. And you're ripping your nation down. So this is one thing, this sector that goes on. And it really is that it needs to be a healing among black people. And I'm like, wow, you just see it. And some people thinking, I mean, whoever you marry or whoever you choose as your mate, that's one thing. But there's going to come a time, like in any other relationship, if you have a relationship with another person, there's going to be problems. And I think when it comes to cultural problems, you're able to understand one another more sector. Can you have relationship outside the person? Yes. But only you know how to deal with the everyday situations that you go through as together as a black men and black women. You know how to take on discrimination as a whole, no matter in mainstream society, as far as and maybe I think some black men and black women feel it. If you get what the other have, they'll have somewhat of an idea, and they won't have the complete understanding of the discrimination as a whole. Because some people like to blindly say, well, maybe you're taking things a little bit out of character. And so what I'm saying is, in this day, that there are black people are being hated on, an ancient hatred, an ancient distrust and misguided that goes back. And this ain't just started. This started probably before, before the shores of America. It started with another part of the world. That this disdain for a person's culture and pigment in their skin, and the texture of their hair, the features of their face, has gone back, you would imagine. And I know the average person can't picture that. How can someone, and then how can someone not like you because it's something that it's not your fault? So therefore, the reason why some black people want to separate is because it goes against what the children will have to go through. And some people can't accept their hair, their clothes, or the way they will their culture. So therefore, now is the time people want to separate. And for what I see, I can understand. Because I can recall certain situations that no matter if I was in fellowship, as far as they're supposed to be Christ or Christians, but you see, like, there's a certain stipulation with people. Like, you part of us, but you my brother, was almost like, you, but we're going to put on this act, but you're not going to figure out that I'm putting on this act before you. So he's like, wow, I thought that we were cool. But it caused me, in some cases, I've been in fellowship with other people, and it caused me to withdraw of some different races. Not to say that it would happen to people. I've experienced people with my own skin complexion, but they kind of hint around subtly that you're not a part of them because they can't relate to you. And that's what it comes down to. Some people can't relate to people. Even though I know some people can say, well, we all human beings, we all made of flesh, blood. That's true. We all are made of flesh, we bone, we bleed, we pee, we poop, and everything else. But obviously, people, when it comes to people, I'll be frank with you, color matters in their subconscious mind. And I always say that in my video. It's subconsciously. When it comes to the job, when it comes to the interaction with other people in the public setting, you name it. There's always a sector of people. So that is the reason why some black people want to just have their own thing completely. Want to get to the point that, hey, if it comes down trying to get it back the way it was, where there's stores, hospitals, schools, neighborhoods, acres of land, that if I can understand because other communities are slowly doing this. There are other people of nationalities around in real nice areas. People they kick among themselves all the time, and you never know it. But majority of those people, whatever nationality of people you see, keep to themselves. Majority of the time to themselves. Why? Because language is one, culture is two, and they feel better being among their own people. Does it mean everybody's prejudiced? No. Some people just prefer to be with their own people. They want to love on their own people. And so you have black people that love to just be around black people. It doesn't mean that they hate white people. And they just mean that they want to, or other people, or whatever people group you can think of. But there's been so much distrust, and it's been so much, racial stuff. It really has in different parts of the country. And it's like, not saying that everybody's like that, where you're going to kind of say you step out the door. But it seemed like in some form or fashion, it seemed like we ever come across this topic. And are there segments or pockets of people who are talking about it? Yeah, but they do it in small increments and groups. But as a whole, as a larger society, most people are going to stay divided. Maybe not in small increments, maybe your friends, maybe your neighborhood, maybe where you live, it might not be that way. maybe your city, your town. But there are people who will always see color on a person's body. And we have to face it. So if we have what we call a totem pole, where brown is right here, black is at the bottom, that's what it seems like, and yellow's right here, and red's right here, and white's right here, and the white, let's say the white is at the top, trying to keep down, and say, well, let's kind of push them and control and move, and the others control and move, and the other sectors control and move. The people at the bottom is going to get tired and say, no, I can control and move my own self. And then when people choose to do that, it's like they want to know why. But why should someone has to put up with you not liking them if you can't disdain for what those skin is on their body? Why would they? And that's just common sense. So that's why there's a black media. And right now, I think there's a certain segment of African Americans just want to exodus among other races. Not everybody, but there's a certain segment of African Americans that wants to exodus from the races. They're making an exodus from, and I heard this recently from the church. There were majority of places that were just a spiritual foundation. But some other people's counterpart are not listening to African Americans' pain and hurt. It's not taken seriously because people don't really want to. Very few people want to connect and relate, and so it makes some men and women frustrated to the point that you're not willing to listen to my pain and my trauma, and as you see it, and then you see someone that look like me, and then you're trying to justify it by covering it up with just not talk about it. It's like you disingenuine. Therefore, they have to cut you loose. Because at the time, we're so conditioned in our society to be so put on a face, even when you go to the pain. And this is something that goes back years. Just take it, just deal with it. Just don't say nothing. Let it ride. But at some time, you get to the point, you get tired of letting things ride, and you get tired of someone letting them be what they want to be, but ain't gonna let you that you can't feel comfortable in your own skin. And I think that with any people, they particularly the races of people who in America seem down on society based on classes. Class is one thing. Economic, as far as and poor, anybody can be poor. Right now, a good percentage of everybody's poor. However, but when it comes to someone psychologically dealing with other people, races of people, the black people at the bottom seem to get it the worst. In this country, of every group of people, and other people besides some white counterparts feel the same way. And I know that's as hard as there are some people, and it's a sensitive topic to talk about, but it's a reality. And I know that I probably lost some subscribers before, but maybe the people that will unsubscribe to me don't want to face the reality. Reality is around you. And whatever it is personally, it's going to touch you in some kind of manner. No matter what it is, it's going to touch you. You just can't just pretend like it's not there. You just can't just shut up like it don't exist. So therefore, that's why there's a sense of healing of the different groups of people, particularly the reoppressed group that never can get full justice in this country. One of the very few people groups that can't give full justice. So they choose some choose the exodus and say, okay, exodus to schools, exodus from the churches, and build their own. And people would think, well, aren't we going back to the segregation of the South, and blacks on one side, whites on the other side, and this on the other side? Yeah, it is with some people, but people are choosing to. It's one of the law that made you. It made you integrate, but now people choose to separate. I'm not saying everybody's going to do this. Not everybody, not every ethnic group of people, including black people, are going to separate. No. But as a segment, a majority, and the African American are going to make an exodus from it. Because all the things that's been happening with the police shootings, the justice system, the medical system, and I say it's an ancient hatred, and people don't like to talk about it, but it's the truth. People don't want to talk about race relationships, but it's going to come in some form or fashion in a town, in a city near you. As long as you have different demographic of people, you have race. There's race problems. In some cases, somebody's going to be, and even if you have a lesser of the people of the lower groups of people, they're gonna get it the worst because they're less of the people. In some cases. So there's gonna probably more African Americans, blacks are gonna make that exodus, and some don't know how, don't know what direction, but and I hope it's not through death, hopefully, but it is what it is, and that's the only thing. So that's why we have a sector of the people you're hearing about, and I know you're saying, why are they talking like this? Why are they discussing it? Aren't you guys going back? Not all of us are feeling that this way, and it's not you, but it's a segment of African Americans. They're tired and they're frustrated. And like I mentioned, sometimes I understand, like, people that build up their own community, like, let's say, like the Native American Indians in different parts of the country, or you could be like the Mennonite people or the Amish people that build up their own little communities. If the African American community can build up like that and get along with one another, which I believe a certain percentage of them can, and take the ones that just recondition to having that village mindset that our grandparents have. It does start with at home. So that's, some people feel like that's what's going to take. And But the people out there, you're probably asking, why is this happening? And why is it being withdrawn? They're going to withdraw. Some are going to withdraw from you. Because what's in the presence, the past has come into the presence. Even though it hasn't come in a way like it was, but it's coming up into the present. Certain things that coming out of the past is coming to the present. So that is the reason why I believe there's going to be an exodus of African Americans leaving the schools, leaving the churches. So basically, in some cases, you've seen some young people go to young African American black youth are going to some of them are going to all black colleges. Some. Because there's a higher education. Like I mentioned in the video about the 8 black college students that got from past time that went to the University of Iowa, and what that their coach told them. So it's like, why should you have to be subjugated to someone's prejudice if they feel that way? And I feel that way too. If you don't want to be around me, then okay. You can't accept me that what God made me to look like. Okay, let me step away from you. And don't bother me, and I won't bother you. Don't disrespect me, and I won't disrespect you. That's the way it should be, right? For those people who have that mindset. But the reason why some people it feels like it feels like you could be around your own people. You feel relaxed. You feel comfortable. And I have been around people from no matter if they come from Africa, Latin America, or some other foreign Asian countries or European countries. People feel comfortable in their own setting. Middle Eastern countries, they feel comfortable around their own people. From India, Pakistan, they around their own people. Majority of people like being around their own people. Don't mean that they're prejudiced. It's just that they can take what they relate to. And so, and black people in this country know. We know when we're not liked or we're not appreciated. We know that we get looked down upon. We know this. We know it directly and indirectly. We know this. So therefore, so come a time, some going to wake up and say, I choose not to be in your presence. I'm going to exodus from your school. I'm going to exodus from your church. I'm going to exodus from your business. I'm going to exodus my dollar. And the last thing is going to be the dollar. Till you understand. And it's a time to change the people's perception and mentality. Like, whoa, it's going to come a time. It's slowly, they're going to start dropping away. And they're going to, because it's a feeling of injustice. And a lot of people don't know because they've never been around other people. Some people have never had experience because they've never been around other groups of people. They live in a city or town where they live at, and it's just them and their friends and their family members that look just like them. But for the people who are probably integrated into society, I believe it's going to be a sector that's going to withdraw themselves from it. It's going to happen. And if it ain't happening already, it's going to be kind of discontinuous. And then you got to look at what the pandemic caused a separation with people. So the pandemic actually separated all people. I mean, you can't be around a certain amount of crowd of people because every city, every town, every place in between figure you're gonna spread that virus. So you're already being separate and don't even know it. So, but yeah, I do believe that people, and it's something that some people want separation on both sides, on all sides. Already, there is going to be a segment of people, a lot of people don't want to admit this, that want to be people that look like them, live around and look like them, no matter where they eat, shop, or wherever they go. And they feel comfortable around being around them. Now you can have a class in the inner person, with a person with the inner personality, but at least you know it has some. If you're around people that look like your skin, you know it is obviously it's not your skin color. It must be their personality clashes. See, people are already separated. Because people are not comfortable with what they can't relate to. This is the truth. So people are going to choose to separate. Particularly black people are going to be one of the ones that they're going to choose to separate. If they ain't, some have done it already. And there's going to be many more. So whoever listens to this video who's non-black, don't be surprised. And don't take it personal. Don't take it personal, because look at the climate we are in. It's the climate. It's the pattern that this pattern has repeated itself over and over and over again. Now, not everybody's not going to separate. Not everybody's going to. Some people are going to still integrate. No matter what, there's going to be a segment of the population, no matter, including African Americans, is going to integrate, because that's all that they know. They haven't really been fed up, but there's a segment of African Americans that are fed up. And when it comes to something, because racism, however it comes, or someone's being, it directly mentally affects you. Particularly, I saw a video where I didn't get a chance to watch it, that racism has messed with, in America, with African Americans' health, with their mental status. And if the mental goes, then the physical. So therefore, it's probably good for the mental status, because there's a segment of trauma in the black community that need to be healed. Because that's why you see some of the things the murders and certain things among our own people, that people that look like us. So therefore, there's something there. And why is that you have to get down to the nitty-gritty that only black people are going to have to solve? People can't be assistants, but it's going to take the other ones to understand, because no one understands your trauma other than African American. Every other race of people have problems in their own personal life, but as a whole, which is very common, there's a difference. And the same thing that, and I gave this segment earlier, like, I have a friend who is Bob. He's a white guy, and he sometimes his family have problems and have little issues and things, and I listen to what his family and his this side of the family is. But when it comes to my side of the family, I see some stuff that goes on among my people, my family, and black people in general. And that, I mean, going through trauma and stuff that I really can't talk to him about because I think it's just because where he was raised. I mean, he was raised in a really decent area. I mean, I was raised in the projects. I mean, my grandmother lived in the projects. It was like low working class people in the inner city. And, my mom eventually took me to different areas to branch out to the suburbs, but that's how I'm able to understand people in the suburbs. But when you're in the city or you're in a poor area, you know there's a difference. And when people who have trauma, whatever that trauma in their family is, could be alcohol, drugs, or something past trauma in their personal life. But it can be very, in African American, it's all like way up here. And there's certain things that I can't tell him because that I can tell to my other friend John, who's African American, black. I understand with him, but there's certain things that you can't tell another person because it's a cultural and it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. And people, even though we're same by skin, we different by skin, we same underneath, we bones, muscles, vessels, and blood, and every other thing. But when it comes to the surface of our features, the pigment of our skin, the texture of our hair, and the features that make out the outside, that make us the human race, that's when we different. And that too, how we different is how some of us spiritually raised, some of us was not spiritually raised. That's another thing. And just language, how the way you express yourself, how the way you talk. So we already separate. And we already have a different way of looking at life. We have our only way of communicating with our mouth and our hands. We already have. So we already are different. So sorry to draw this out too long. But I'm just, giving an explanation why, because some people may have this question: why is this happening? Why is he being on these topics like this? Because eventually they're going to see what I'm talking about, and they're not going to understand it. Why there's going to be an exodus of blacks, African Americans. Anybody whatever title, if you're black or you're African American, want to use that title. Could be Hebrew. It could be any one other name. I don't know. Originally now. But I'm just saying, it's going to come a time. You're going to have to separate. Because, I think it's the climate we live in. It's the climate, the time, and it's just a repeat of things over and over. Things that come into a cycle. And that's the only way it's going to... Some people feel like they separate to segregate. And it's not just someone of a hate group that's saying this. I didn't even know this, that one time someone pointed this out. I didn't know this was in history, that the Nation of Islam. I know you've heard of them, right? And you know about the KKK. Back during the time, and as they said, this was on record, that the leader, Malcolm X, and I think Elijah Muhammad, squared off with the KKK. And at the time, the KKK wanted separation. And they come to agreement and said, we want to separate our own people. And they said they want segregation. And I think what someone said was Islam said, well, we want separation too. And it was like, wow. Both from a Nation of Islam, which is majority African Americans, the KKK, which is white. And white and Christian. Because the KKK is technically a white Christian organization. A lot of people don't want to admit about that, but that's true. But it's about what they look like. And they didn't, and so there was a mutual of agreement. And then you have people, and then you have other sectors of people feel like they want to separate themselves too. But people already, and I said this before, people already separate themselves. They do. They already segregate themselves. How you figure that? They do. People segregate themselves. It's a fact. Because of, again, the language, the area where you live at, where you were raised, and what makes up your personal makeup. And majority of people who you feel comfortable that look like you, that you can connect to, that looks similar to your culture, what part of the world, where you come from. When you can have from a good conversation to a serious conversation, someone that look like you, and that's just a fact. But to say this is don't be surprised. You're going to see a separation of people. You're going to see. I truly believe that. Just the times we live in it. But like I said, not all people are going to do it. Not all people are going to do it, but you're going to see a segment of people going to do it. Not everybody going to be on board. You might see people in a restaurant together. That's true. You might see people in some places in parks together. That's true. But majority of the people of any nationality really goes among themselves. They have their own places of entertainment, as far as bars, restaurants, everything. And you just feel comfortable being among their own people. That's just in our nature, in our DNA. It's like whatever language you speak on the planet, whether it's French, Spanish, or German, or if you're a French-speaking person, you're gonna be around French-speaking people, because that's the language you're naturally good to. If you're around Spanish-speaking people, you're gonna be around Spanish-speaking people, German people, Russian people, or the Middle Eastern languages, and people who speak the Middle Eastern languages. You're going to be good around your people. So what I'm saying is you already separate. People are already separate themselves. They may do business, but the majority of people they talk to and do business, interact with, in their family, in their neighborhood, is people that look like them. They could be in the same religion, whether they're Christian, Muslim, Hindu. It's a fact. We already separate ourselves. We separate ourselves. We segregate. You already separate yourself. You separate by your religion. You separate by your language. You separate because you live in the demographic and neighborhood you live in. So don't be surprised. So that's therefore that's my take on why the blacks want their own. have their own, and they're gonna eventually build up their own. Because like the people keep saying that they're lazy, and we got seven people saying that they want to get educated. So it's like, okay, you feel all this way, then let me show you better than I can tell you. So that means I step away from you, and then when you somehow you see it, then that'll change your doggone mind. There's no sense of arguing and fighting somebody that you know that you're not lazy. You don't come from the lazy people, the shiftless people, the criminality people that's conditioned by TV. And people only thing they gotta do is use common sense and see what they believe, what they hear on TV and the news is relevant. I know I'm sorry going long enough, but I just want to wipe that. I want to let you know if you probably at why now? Why is this happening? That's basically to sum it up. Like I said earlier, it's just past pain, current situations, personal trauma, and it make you feel some kind of way. It wears on your psychic after a while. It does. Could wear on your health if you don't be careful. So that's the reason why there's going to be an exodus. And mark my word, it's going to start happening. Because I'm hearing some people talk about it. That's why I'm bringing this up to you. People that look like me. It's not going to harm nobody. Ain't nobody going to hate nobody. Ain't nobody going to attack nobody. It's just that they're just going to back away. Because and I think there's a segment of black people getting tired of being the butt of everybody's jokes. Being abused. Being picked on. Makes you feel some kind of way. Like, okay, I just don't deal with people that look like you. Whoa, what do you mean people don't look like me? Because especially the ones that are doing the picking. People who are doing the judging and picking, and the people who are doing that. That's the reason why. They're tired. And when you get fed up and tired, and it's knowing that things ain't gonna, and unrighteousness, unjustified justice come your way, it make you feel like it's time for me to back away and just avoid people when I can. Avoid them. That's the best way. Somebody don't like you, just avoid them. And don't go in their business. Don't go around with you go in public. Especially particularly if you come across people that act like that towards you. Yes. Leave them alone. Okay then, guys. You have a good night. Good. Well, good evening, wherever you at in the world. But just let you know what time it is. I'm getting tired, about to go to lay down. Yo, have a good evening.